What's up, everybody? Hello. Welcome back into LTL. We're here on this Friday night, and we're going to do some Charlie Kirk updates. We have some updates and some local cases here in Massachusetts that we're going to talk about. Karen Reed and Brian Walshe. Brian Walshe got the old shanky shank. Last night. So we'll talk about that. And I don't know. I thought I'm going to bring someone in. It's kind of nervous. I haven't done a show with a guest in a while, but we're gonna hang out tonight and talk about some of the issues that are going on around the world. Let's not wait too much longer. Let's see. Oh, look at that. Who's this? Whoa, who's this?
Hello, friend. How are you?
I'm all right. We talk privately, and I've kind of talked on stream a little bit about it, but I'm doing okay. I've had some health stuff going on. That's kind of work, home, bed rest, off my feet. But we're hopefully, we were talking offline before we came on, hopefully getting to the bottom of some of that on Wednesday. I have some appointments, so.
Well, I'm wishing you all the best on a speedy recovery. I'm sending you well wishes, and you look really good. So bed rest is doing you good.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Look, there's a show over at the Wilbur tonight, which is fantastic, and it looks like Aiden Turtleboy Carney sold out the Wilbur, so that's pretty fucking dope. And I want to
so happy.
Yeah, I want to thank him. I want to congratulate him, and I hope that the show goes really well. And I know he's doing it with Jimmy, so I'm sure it's going to be comedic, and it's going to have all the hit points in it, and it should be pretty good. So
I wish them all the best. I'm sorry I couldn't be up there this weekend, but that's great. I'm happy they sold out, and I wish everyone a good reunion. And it's going to be great, I'm sure, for everyone who had a common goal, which some may have lost sight of along the way. And I'm not referring to anyone in particular. All those people with a common goal reunite and share in some memories and some celebrations.
Yeah, it's pretty badass.
Yeah.
All right. We got kind of a packed show tonight. We'll get into some local stuff here first, and then obviously we'll do some Charlie Kirk updates. I went live about it last night, Nan, and I wanted to wait about a day or so for some information to come out, because I know, like, hitting X, it was like flooded with all this information. You're kind of like, all right, what's going on? I know they're doing tons of work on 4chan and breaking this all down, and they had a potential. According to the public, we had a potential suspect in mind. I saw the name Sky Alvarez kind of bouncing around, and then come to find out it was a local Utah kid. His name is Tyler James Robinson. Yeah, Tyler James Robinson, 22 years old, and lived about 3 hours from the university. Ultimately, the report said that he, as the photos came in, his parents saw everything. His father actually confronted him. There was I think a pastor that was involved, a family pastor that they called, and then ultimately he did end up confessing and turning himself into authorities. And it's just been a wild story over the last 48 hours. I was amazed that he was caught so quickly. I thought that they were going to be, maybe, a couple more days to a week, but they got on this guy pretty quick.
I heard something to do with the bullet casings, etchings on the bullet casings, although I don't know. But I enjoyed your show last evening, and that was where I had first learned about the TMZ faux pas, which, that's
what do you think about that? Do you think that I mean, what's your kind of thought on that one?
Well, at first, I just want to reiterate that's one of the reasons why I very much enjoy content creators, because I don't really consume news in any other fashion. So when I heard it on your show, I was like, what? And then when you went through it, if I may speak freely on a Friday night, I think it's a load of absolute bullshit. And I think that TMZ, I forget the guy's name, Harvey or something.
Harvey Leverman, yeah.
Yeah, I think
he used to do People's Court. He used to be outside. It's People's Court, remember?
Oh, is that him?
Yeah.
I know he's a lawyer. I think he should have done the right thing, which was either to say nothing, and then lie about it, or come clean and say, look, we have people of all different political backgrounds who work for us. I can't control everyone. It was in poor taste. But by coming forward and blaming it on some people in your kind of open air newsroom watching a car chase that didn't happen
Yeah.
contemporaneously, I think he lost a lot of credibility, and so did his rag anyway. Although I did see TMZ had posted something today about some alleged footage of the Tyler Robinson, the
Yeah.
suspect, approaching the crime scene. So, for what it's worth, it'll be a blip on the news radar, but I think it was a big misstep for TMZ.
Yeah, and I mean it's gross too. You've seen all these reports of, teachers. I know I'm in an article that I'm going to pull up. 3 teachers in Massachusetts are suspended for, making jokes or jokes about death threats to Charlie Kirk's family or something. I mean, it does really, these incidences, which is crazy. And I think it's just the shielding of being able to kind of hide behind the internet because you're not
Hmm.
standing in front of the person actually saying this stuff. So they feel like, oh, I'm just on my phone saying this stuff and putting it out. I'm not really standing in front of someone. But, ultimately, there are consequences when you do things like that, whether you're standing in front of someone or you're not. I think it just sometimes these situations honestly bring out the worst in people. I mean,
I have a lot of thoughts on this point, if I may.
yeah, of course.
If they're are they 3 teachers? I know 1 or 2 of them were teachers, but let's assume they're teachers.
Yeah.
In today's day and age where social media is at your fingertips, and like you said, you can literally just put your phone in front of you and spew opinions and facts as opinions, it is reckless, in my opinion, for specifically teachers or anyone who is employed by a larger entity that may have may frown upon the advancement of opinions that are controversial. And in this instance, schools. So if these are teachers and they work for school systems and boards of education, they receive state and federal funding. And if they receive state and federal funding, these employers have to adhere to certain standards for their teachers. And when you have teachers who are specifically hired to shape and mold the minds of our youth and to protect our youth of all different ages, whether it's from preschool all the way up through colleges and postgraduate education, it's reckless for teachers to just pick up a phone, put their face in the app, whatever they're using, and to spew thoughtless, mindless filth.
Right.
And nobody should be celebrating the silencing of any voice due to violence, even if they disagreed with his opinion. No one should be censoring children, like that one teacher from the district that Aiden Carney's children are being promulgated through.
Yeah.
That one teacher was like, we're not going to show any remorse or exhibit any moments of silence for this death. How dare she say that? That's so
Yeah.
inappropriate. I mean, I could go off in a much more fiery way. But for now, I think teachers especially need to be careful because we're starting to see accountability. And I'm happy that it's swift.
Yeah, this is the article here. Since we're kind of into it, might as well just pull the article up really
Yeah.
quick. So, teachers in 3 Mass schools districts under investigation after Charlie Kirk's death comments. And it goes on to say here, oops, wrong article. Where am I? Let me bring this over. So it goes on to say, Framingham, at least 3 Massachusetts school districts are conducting investigations into teachers' comments on recent assassination of conservative activist Charlie Kirk. Framingham Public Schools attendant Robert A. Tremblay confirmed that 20 to 25 Boston News that a teacher in the district had been placed on leave after a social media post about the death of Kirk, who was shot Wednesday while speaking at an event at a campus at Utah Valley University. Tremblay did not identify the teacher or comment on the content of the post, but said an internal review is under the way. So, I mean,
Oh.
that's, and
Well,
I
I
heard
mean,
stories about that all over too.
and these teachers obviously have rights if they are disciplined or put on leave or paid leave, or if they're terminated, they have administrative rights, just like former Trooper Proctor is exhibiting his and exercising his rights now in his matter. But I have to say, like, this is such conduct unbecoming of people who are shaping the minds of our youth. Like, We don't need that. And I really hope that they have to pay attorneys to advance them through these processes. And I hope they don't get their jobs back. Because if they're putting their mugs in their phones and spewing all of this, then they are focusing on themselves and their own selfish beliefs rather than focusing on the children and educating them. It's total bullshit. And this should be a warning sign to anyone moving forward, especially if they're going to, apologize, especially if they're going to spew ignorance, which is one of the biggest lessons learned to be learned from Charlie Kirk's assassination.
I think we're going to have another live press conference at 8. So we'll look out for that. And thank you, Garden State Accountability, for talking about that. And I'll keep my eyes out for that press conference. Probably some more updates in the Charlie Kirk, story. Yeah. It's just, the thing is like, I looked at all of this and I talked about it yesterday on my show, is like, it's a matter of free speech in all of this. I mean, I don't want to see, I made comments during the Trump, the attempted Trump assassination. Like, that was Joe Biden. I wouldn't want Joe Biden. Like, I don't agree with Joe Biden's politics, but I don't want Joe Biden to get assassinated. That's not how we change the fabric of our country. That's not how we change our political landscape. That's not how we advance our country forward with violence. I mean, we're like rewinding to the 60s right now of all the violence that went on in the 60s. And, and now you just have to look, and it's like, what is spinning all this up? I mean, I don't want to sound like a boomer or whatever, but like, is it these platforms? Is it just too many people that are not socializing the way that they should, like we used to? I remember going out and like I had to go to the mall if I wanted to meet friends, or go out and actually socialize and meet people in person. And I know people are going to be like, oh, you sound like a boomer, but I don't know. Am I crazy to think this? I mean, is this what happens?
We're not boomers. I'm only like a couple of years older than you, but yeah. I will tell you, I agree wholeheartedly. And in this instance, though, I mean, Charlie Kirk, and this isn't like everybody praised Charlie Kirk because everything he believed in is true. But what he did was kind of peaceful debate and articulate, thoughtful debating, and cause people to think about their paradigms, think about how they form their belief system, and then confront them if they're being hypocrites. If you feel this way, like he asked someone like, well, what do you believe makes a woman a woman? And that person was like, well, it's how they dress and the makeup they wear. And I'm paraphrasing. But he's like, that's such an insult to women. He was staunch in his religious beliefs and his values. And he wasn't trying to change minds. He was trying to have just
open conversation. Yeah.
Right. And that goes in line with what you do here, which is why I'm a big fan of this platform. And it's just something that, we should all really be outraged, because never should something like this end in violence. And this isn't, at least from my end, I'm not sitting here saying, oh, it's all about guns and this and that. I mean, nowadays with what happened with what was it, the United Healthcare CEO who was killed by Luigi Mangione. That was a 3D printed gun. So it's it's one of these things where this isn't, at least coming from me, I'm not taking a position on gun control here, but this is a matter of, impulse control. And it's really an atrocity. I hope there are lessons learned all across the board.
Yeah. So Charlie Kirk's wife, Erica, is scheduled to speak at 8:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we'll keep our eye out for that and obviously bring it up when that news breaks. But let's do this. Let's just back up a little bit. We'll tackle some local cases really quick. So we'll go to Karen Reed first. So here we go. Cosgrove again. Special prosecutor seeks passwords, rules for search of Karen Reed's cell phones. It goes, Karen Reed was found not guilty of murder this summer after the second high-profile trial, but recently court documents suggest that her criminal proceedings may not be over. Special Assistant District Attorney Robert Cosgrove is seeking the court's permission to establish a protocol for accessing two of Reed's cell phones, which were seized by investigators nearly 2 years ago. quote, "To me, this is like a fishing expedition that should be taking place. She should have her phones back, and this should just be ended. Everyone just needs to move on," said Reed's attorney, Steve Boozang. Is it Boozang?
Yeah, it's
Boozang.
boozing.
That's kind of cool last name. I like that. Cosgrove's motion notes that the phones were seized under the warrant linked to the investigation and pending witness intimidation charges against Aiden Carney, the known the blog. I always call him blogger, the journalist known as Turtle Boy. A grand jury has already declined to indict Reed on witness intimidation, but nothing prevents prosecutors from trying again. Fucking motherfuckers with a new jury. Cosgrove requested to the court outlines proposal procedure to hire a team from outside the investigation to handle the initial review of the materials from the cell phone and filter out any privileged communications. He also asked the judge to compel Reed to provide passwords for the devices. Boozang said he expects the judge to hold a hearing on the issues before making a decision. We already know the background of the case. Let's see. So yeah.
Wow.
I just want to go over this again. Cosgrove requests the court outlines a proposed procedure to hire a team from outside the investigation to handle the initial review of the materials of the cell phones and filter out any privileged communications. So these motherfuckers are still going to look entirely through her phones of private information that has nothing to do with anything. And I just see this it's another witch hunt on Karen Reed to try to trip her up on fucking something that she did not do.
Oh, yeah.
Nan, how do you feel about this one?
I think this is going to end poorly for the Commonwealth in a variety of ways. First, they've had the phones, I'm going to say, quote, all along, however long that's been. These are phones that have been in the possession of the Commonwealth. They've been searched already. I don't care what anyone tells me about, well, no, they've just been held in protective custody. They've already been searched. Nobody can convince me otherwise. Yeah. Now that there's been an acquittal on the primary charges against her, like let's hold the OUI aside. This is now what would be called, and an argument should be made, selective prosecution. Yeah. It's like just kicking someone when they're down, and she's not down anymore, but she was acquitted. She's been exonerated. She's moved on with her life. There's no difference in my mind as a criminal defense attorney between returning the car to her or returning the phones to her. And they would have, and likely did, previously explore any witness intimidation allegations previously because they wanted to throw everything at her. And they also have another criminal defendant up in the county, or at least one of the local counties who we might know, who's facing his own witness intimidation charges. So there's no way they didn't look at the phone already. What that article seems to imply is that Cosgrove wants to hire a taint team to try to ferret out privileged communications, whether that's between her and Yannetti or Jackson or any other attorney. But they probably already looked through her communications with her attorneys. They're not going to find anything. I know. And also, I would just make a note that I don't know what the statute of limitations is on witness intimidation up in Massachusetts, if anyone in the chat wants to look that up. But presumably they've had the phones since, I'm going to say what I heard was 2024. I'm not sure if that's accurate, but if the actions that were communications at issue. Yeah, so we're now pushing probably what is the statute of limitations period. Right. I think that's a nothing burger, and it would be in the Commonwealth's best interest to drop it all together, because this will just compound and pile on to the ammunition that she fires at them in her civil rights action. Yeah.
Excuse me 1 second. I just want to address this. Hey, you know what? I look at it this way. If you want to unsubscribe from my channel, from the conversations that we have here, it's perfectly fine. I mean, I don't stop anybody from subscribing or unsubscribing. Look, I just had a huge mass exit off my channel. I'm going to continue to talk about things here on LTL that interest me and interest my audience that really want to be here. I encourage everybody to stick around. I encourage everybody to subscribe to this channel. But if you feel that you need to unsubscribe because of just a certain topic that I may talk about, hey, that's your choice to do that. You know, I'm going to continue to talk about things that happen in the world, and there are going to be subjects on here that people may not like, but I want people to look at the overall picture. My theme of the last night and 20 minutes that we've been talking about is free speech. And we're dealing with a major issue with free speech, especially in Massachusetts right now, with Turtle Boy, a journalist that went up and asked questions, and he is being prosecuted for witness intimidation. And another case that I have been following, Sean Paul Reyes case. You know, he is a journalist that went and asked questions and is now being unlawfully prosecuted for speech. So I want you to just kind of sit back, absorb that a little bit. And that's what the point of these overall conversations is. I made it very clear last night on my program that if this was someone on the left and this happened to, I don't want to see someone be shot over words or conversations, that someone gets so sick in the head that they feel the need to silence someone by taking a weapon or a gun or whatever it may be and doing actual physical damage or killing someone for having a conversation. This is what I tell the people. If you have an issue with someone, do your homework, write down what you need to say, and have a civil conversation with them. That's what these platforms should be. This is what life should be about. Have a healthy debate. And if you actually go back and watch any of Charlie's stuff, that's what he did. He never got crazy or ran at someone or whatever. He invited people from both whatever political side they were on. If they thought the spaghetti strainer was going to be I don't know, those people that made that joke, the spaghetti strainer president or whatever, he would invite them and have a conversation. And that's what I do here. You know, that's what I do here. So it is what it is at this point. But please, if you feel you want to hang out, then hang out. It looks like the press conference is starting. So let's see if we can find a station that has that. Garden State Accountability. If you have a link, if you can jump in, drop it in the chat, that would work. Sorry, Nan. I just wanted to kind of address that.
Oh, I know. Hey, well, first of all, you know it's your channel, so you never have to apologize to me, and I echo your sentiment. And you know, sometimes, by the way, as someone who consumes content, I will say this: I don't always agree with something or a particular thing that's being talked about on a stream. But I still, I stay subscribed because there's other items of interest that I want to follow. But that's just personal preference. Yeah. I also feel to Tinkerbell, I don't really think you need to announce that you're unsubscribed. So don't let the door hit you where the good Lord split you.
It's fine. I mean, listen, I mean, it is what it is. You know, I'm still gonna have conversations here. I still want to invoke good conversation and talk about these things, because it's things that are going on in the world, and it's okay to hear everybody's, you know, different opinion, just like she had an opinion, and that's fine, or he, you know, whoever it may be. But if you want to stick around, you can. If not, it's all good. So let's give a little bit of background here while waiting for the press conference to start. Let's see. All right, so it is live. Let's see. So we have so quick summary, Nan. So Charlie Kirk's wife, Erica, is going to make her first press address here in just a couple of minutes. Let's see. Is there another link here? No, I don't see anything yet. So the suspect suspect in the murder of Kirk, Tyler James Robinson, is in custody and will be formally charged on Tuesday. On Thursday, Robinson's father recognized his son in the pictures and released by the FBI, sources say. What would you be thinking if you saw that? Like if it was one of your kids?
Oh my God.
I know. Like that's probably how you would react, right? Oh my God.
Yeah, like I do as a parent, I think about this where, you know, there's been parents over the years who have to face that their children are criminals. I mean, and vicious. I mean, we had recently, I cannot remember the name of the criminal defendant, but there was someone out in Michigan who had performed a school shooting, and both parents were held criminally responsible for manslaughter in connection with failing to properly monitor and to rein him in, etc. That's like the worst, most nondescript way I could describe it. As a parent, you never want to think that your child is capable of doing a wrongful act. And, I subscribe to the theory of love the child, hate the action, that type of thing. I let my kids know it's okay, I love you, but please don't do that again. But I would be absolutely mortified if I was a relative of this suspect, Tyler Robinson, and I made any type of recognition, whether it was from a photograph or maybe I found some evidence in his or her room, like whomever the suspect is. But kudos to that person for speaking up and saying something, because there's many parents out there who don't come forward and say, okay, I'm not going to get my relative criminally caught up in an investigation. So it's heart-wrenching, but sometimes you have to be in a position where you have to do the greater good. And if that individual did do this, he wasn't going to stop. This what pardon my dog. This isn't going to. My dog agrees with me though, but this isn't going to stop with one.
Right.
I don't know what I'm allowed to say in terms of YouTube words, but one act. This would have happened again.
Yeah, and I don't want it to happen. I'm tired of all this stuff. Joyce says Charlie tried to keep an open dialogue and just explained to people who would not understand. Like you said, no dialogue leads to violence. Yeah, I mean, it's.
Yeah, no, I mean, and there's been so many different reels and memes and clips that I've seen over the last couple of days where I learned so much more about Charlie Kirk and how he just tried to shift people's ways of thinking. I want that. I want to live in a world where that happens. I don't want to live in a world where we even think about something like this happen. And I only learned today that it was in front of his family.
Yeah, it's wild. Happened. Yeah, I talked about that last night, and you look at his wife Erica, his son and daughter. His son was just turned 1 year old. His daughter turned 3, I believe, in August. And it's like, how do you explain that to your kids? Like, daddy's never coming home again, and they're at such a young, impactful age. So it's like, I mean, they haven't even had any time with their father, Nan.
And, and the sad thing is, Brian, they're never going to remember him.
It's crazy.
Memories start really, I'm not a scientist, but memories really start forming around age 4 and 5. So right now, the heartbreak for the littles will be very acute and they won't understand. But the real tragedy is that they won't ultimately remember him at all. And one of the ironic things that I think is very poignant here is that I had heard another reel of him at one of his conferences where he was saying, like, it's very important for children to, if possible, to be raised with the influence of a mother and a father. So how ironic is that this is what's going to happen. I'm very interested to see what Erica Kirk has to say.
Yeah.
She's a strong woman.
Yeah, Bridget in the chat, and I want to thank the few that have sent a couple super chats tonight. I appreciate that. Bridget says, I'm a gay 40-year-old woman. I support Charlie not because all of his views and his beliefs, but because it's vital that the youth stand up and have a voice regardless of what political party you choose. Wow, it's so well spoken.
Yes, I think it is. It's that's open-minded, Bridget. It's the key to being open-minded. And for example, Charlie Kirk, as I understand it, was not anti any type of sexual preference or anything like that. He just wanted to discuss it, make sure people had their views heard. He wasn't going to sit there and hit people over the head with his views, but just debate on the subject. And I think that all lends itself to better understanding amongst people. But I love that about you, Bridget. You just keep an open mind.
Yeah, and I love people in the chat tonight that have kind of listen. We all have different political views here. I mean, that's no question about that. I'm sure there's Republicans in the chat tonight. There's Democrats in the chat tonight. There's independents in the chat tonight. And I love the fact that tonight people are really, and this is really why I wanted to invoke this conversation, and that's why I wanted to talk about it in this way and make it really is a free speech argument. And I get it, politics are involved in this too, but I wanted to stress the fact that we have the right to speak, and we have the right to speak about these things. And it is getting scary. It is getting scary out there as you grow, as you grow and you gain attention. You can get lunatics that want to do things like this. And we shouldn't have to live in that fear. We should be able to say what we want to say under the First Amendment. We have that right. As long as it's not like some like Nazi bullshit,
Right.
like say all you want, say all you want. But I think people understand what speech I'm talking about. If you're, throwing the N-word around or using like Nazi bullshit, those people can burn in hell. But I'm saying
Right.
have civil discourse in things that are going on in our country, and it's just getting way too hot. Caddy says life would be so boring if we agreed with each other. We grow when we have different views. We learn from each other, no matter what political view. This shouldn't have happened at all. And I agree.
I
I
totally
totally
agree with
agree.
that as well.
Yeah.
Listening, you become educated on the views of people with whom you disagree. I was listening to a stream this morning by Alexa's Room, and she's a really strong voice, and she's also on YouTube, and she is a gay woman, and she was talking about how like one of her mentors had said to her like, and I'm paraphrasing, but one of the
Sure.
best ways to become well-rounded and educated on topics is to listen to the views of those you disagree with or who
You have
disagree with
to.
you.
Dude,
Yeah.
you can't, like, if you're a Republican, you can't just listen to Republican radio or Republican TV. You have to check out what the left is saying, and that goes for the same thing on the other side too. If you're a Democrat, you need to see what you need to see or hear what the Republicans are saying. That way you
Yeah.
can have healthy debate or pick up, whatever, have conversations about the views that you believe in, whatever it is. I mean,
Yeah, it's like an echo chamber otherwise. That's
yeah.
why during the Karen Reed saga, I was always disappointed that those who were what were considered anti-free Karen Reed, many of them never wanted to have a healthy debate. Many of
No.
them didn't know the facts. They had their conclusions that they, tied themselves to, which were not supported by facts or science. But yet, if they had approached any platform, if they had approached any content creator, I dare say, including you, and said, "These
I
are
had a
my,"
healthy debate with Kevin or Plevin. I had a healthy debate with him.
it was a funny debate.
It was funny.
What did you say? You're like, do you disagree with science
Do you
or?
disagree that the Earth? Do you think that the Earth is round? He was like, "Oh, it's spherical," and I was like, "Oh, dude, come on." And
Oh,
then we were talking about Arca, and I said, "Are you going to deny science?" Because he admitted that the Earth is spherical, and I said, "Are you going to deny science?" And then I was like, "So you don't line up with Arca then?" He got like pissed.
it was
But then it got
fun.
broken up by one of the state cops thinking we were having a fight. We're actually having a healthy debate. So
It was fun to watch. I
it was
appreciated that.
fun.
But honestly, like I don't even want to pay him a compliment, but he
Yeah.
was probably one of the better, in my
Yeah.
opinion, anti-free Karen readers who would at
Yeah.
least bring a position to the table that arguably could have made some sense or at least was worth debating.
Right.
I don't think his debating skills were good. I mean,
Yeah. It was funny.
it was funny to watch him
Yeah.
with Broken Baker. But when you have people who are afraid to hear the other side's opinions and conclusions, who approach disagreement with yelling, screaming, or violence, then the whole conversation, and I'm using that word in italics, shuts down. We don't
Yeah.
grow if we approach things violently. People stop listening. And it's when people, I heard someone say this, it's when people get quiet and when people stop listening that bad things happen.
Yeah. Yeah. It's very
Yeah.
true. So let's see here. We're still waiting for the presser. I got it in the green room. So when that pops up,
Okay.
we'll go to that, of course. So the 22-year-old confessed to his father and said that he should hand himself in but Tyler Robinson said he would rather unalive himself. The
Mm.
father called the youth pastor who called the U.S. Marshals, who secured him until the FBI took the suspect into custody. Earlier, Cox said the family member reported Robinson had become more political in the recent years, and suspect was on an electrical apprenticeship, but that is not. But that was not a student. But he was not a student at the university where the shooting happened. Bullet casings were found in scripting, including one saying "Hey, fascist" and "Catch." Another inscription seemed to be a reference to a video game code.
Hmm.
I also heard that there was some information out there that his dad is a former U.S. Marshal or sheriff, which is
Ooh.
very interesting. And then also, I guess just before we went live on air, a couple hours before this, there's reports around the family's house that it had been like the area had been evacuated. So I don't know if there's anything going on at Tyler's house. I hope that there's nothing crazy going on, but I'm pretty sure it's just locking down the neighborhood for the FBI to come in and do a formal investigation. I'm
Oh
pretty sure
yeah.
at this point.
Yeah, I mean there will be, if not already, there will be a very robust investigation here, just to make sure that this wasn't just what I think it might have been, which is someone, in my opinion, who's unhinged and probably vehemently disagreed with Charlie Kirk's platform and concepts. I think it probably was one isolated individual, but the FBI is going to have to determine if there was something broader, if there was a conspiracy or some type of payment for an assassination or something of the
Yeah.
like. So they will, and someone put in your chat, look up Groyper. Seems to fit. I saw the word Groyper on Twitter a lot today. I don't even know what that word means.
Yeah, I
So,
don't either.
but
Let's see.
there may be some speculation that he might have been one, but I don't know what that means. So I would have
Groyper,
to.
sometimes called Groyper Army, are a group of alt-right white nationalists and Christian national activists led by Nick Fuentes. Okay.
Okay.
I mean,
I
I
mean,
don't know.
there may very. We don't
All right.
know.
I'm not deep into like that whole political spectrum. I mean,
Right.
I'm a very surface layer political person. You know, I have my stances and my ways of thinking on certain things, but I don't drill into politics like it will make you nuts. Like I can't,
Right.
I have my surface layer things that I think about and join in some of those conversations, but I'm not someone that talks politics like every day or
I think a lot of, at least the content creators whom I follow, none of them really puts themselves out there politically, and
politically.
I tend to agree with that approach,
Yeah.
because I think sometimes it again closes down discussion, and we don't
I
like
mean,
that.
listen, I got shit for doing this. I mean, people unsubscribed after that video. I got
Really?
shit from the live stream last night. I got shit when I talked about when I was just playing video of this attempted Trump assassination. Like that's big fucking news in our country. Like we can talk about that stuff,
Yeah.
and that's why I said like if this offends you that we're just having an open dialogue about something that's going on in the world. And I mean, I don't think we've really taken a big political stance on either side. I'm
Right.
talking about free speech here. Like this shit can't happen in our country. This is really fucking bad that you're just so angry at someone that you're going to take up a weapon and kill them like in front of their wife and kids, in front of 3,000 people. Those people, those kids, I mean, they're kids. I mean, yeah, I know some of them probably in their 20s. I call them kids because I'm older, but those kids are traumatized for the rest of their lives. Like
Right.
they saw that. And then, you look at his wife Eric is going to speak here in a couple of minutes. I don't want to have to do another one of these stories. I don't want to have to
No.
talk about this again. This shouldn't be happening. It's very
And
bad. And it's almost like, oh, okay, well, if they did that, then I'll just get bad and go do the same thing. Like it
well,
shouldn't be that way.
it shouldn't be that way, and this really is a First Amendment issue. As far
Sure.
as I'm concerned. I mean, and we should all be concerned for that. One of the reasons why everyone who's in this chat and everyone who watches this on replay is doing so is because you're looking for some unfiltered truth,
Hmm.
whether it's opinions or news, whatever it is, you want it
Yeah.
unfiltered without the skew and the fog that mainstream media tends to cast on
Yeah.
topics like this.
I mean, when Nan and I did the stream, I texted her today and I said, "Hey, do you want to come on and just talk about, Charlie's situation and what's going on in the world?" And she's like, "Let's do it." I'm like, "I'm just coming on. We're gonna just talk and hang
Right.
out like two people in a room tonight and give our thoughts." I mean, I didn't go into this with a script or anything like that. I mean, this is just thoughts that are coming off my head. And again, I don't want to fucking see this for our country. This is bad. And this is really, really bad.
Agreed.
Again, I go on whatever political side you're on. I don't want to see people shot and killed. And I mean, it affects so many people. It affects, the students that they were there. It affects Charlie's family. It affects people that have watched this video probably numerous of times over and over again on the internet.
Oh,
I
it's
mean, that stuff
everywhere.
stays with you. It doesn't go away. I mean, this will be ingrained in our brains forever now.
I know, and I look at this very practically. And oh, she got
I
the
is
chart.
Charlie's wife. God bless her.
My God.
Good evening. My name is Erica Kirk. Charlie Kirk is my husband. I first want to thank the local, state, and federal law enforcement who worked tirelessly to capture my husband's assassin so that he can be brought to justice. I want to thank the first responders who struggled heroically to save Charles's life, and the police who acted bravely to make sure that there were no other victims on that terrible afternoon. I want to thank the officers who have protected our Turning Point USA family these past 2 days. And I want to thank the Turning Point USA board, the COO, Justin Strife, and my husband's chief of staff, the amazing Mikey McCoy, for all their work in these terrible days to be the stability for our family and for the wider Turning Point USA family as well. My heart is with every one of my husband's employees who lost a friend and a mentor. I want to thank the staffers of his amazing Charlie Kirk show, who helped him broadcast from this studio, this chair. Every day he loved it. He loved what he did. I want to thank the millions of people who have shown their love for Charlie here in Phoenix, across America, and worldwide. I want to thank my husband's dear friend, Vice President Vance, and his phenomenal wife, Usha, for their love and support. You guys honored my husband so well, bringing him home. Both are tremendous. I want to thank President Trump and his incredible family for the same. Mr. President, my husband loved you. And he knew that you loved him too. He did. Your friendship was amazing. You supported him so well, as did he for you. 2 days ago, my husband, Charlie, went to see the face of his Savior and his God. Charlie always said that when he was gone, he wanted to be remembered for his courage and for his faith. And one of the final conversations that he had on this earth, my husband witnessed for his Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. now and for all eternity, he will stand at his Savior's side, wearing the glorious crown of a martyr. Charlie loved life. He loved his life. He loved America. He loved nature, which helped him always bring him closer to God. He loved the Chicago Cubs. And my goodness, did he love the Oregon Ducks. Want me to say go Ducks, so I have to since they play on Saturday. So go Ducks. But most of all, Charlie loved his children. And he loved me with all of his heart. And I knew that. Every day I knew that. He made sure I knew that every day. Every day he would ask me, how can I serve you better? How can I be a better husband? How can I be a better father? Every day. Every day. Such a good man. He still is a good man. He was the perfect father. He was the perfect husband. Charlie always believed that God's design for marriage and the family was absolutely amazing, and it is. It is, and it was the greatest joy of his life. And over, he would tell all these young people to come and find their future spouse, become wives and husbands and parents. And the reason why is because he wanted you all to experience what he had and still has. He wanted everyone to bring heaven into this earth through love and joy that comes from raising a family. It's beautiful. Charlie always said that if he ever ran for office, I know a lot of you asked if he ever was going to, but privately he told me if he ever did run for office that his top priority would be to revive the American family. That was his priority. One of Charlie's favorite Bible verses was Ephesians 5, verse 25. Husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church and gave himself up for her. My husband laid down his life for me, for our nation, for our children. He showed the ultimate and true covenantal love. I will never, ever have the words to describe the loss that I feel in my heart. I honestly have no idea what any of this means. I know that God does, but I don't. But Charlie, baby, I know you do too. I know you do. So does our Lord. And our world is filled with evil. But our God, you guys, our God is so good. He's so incredibly good. And we know that for those who love God, all things work together for good, for those who are called according to his purpose. Already I have seen the worldwide outpouring of love for my husband. I've heard the testimonies from people my husband inspired to get married, to start families, to seek out a relationship with God. It's the most important one of all. The evildoers responsible for my husband's assassination have no idea what they have done. They killed Charlie because he preached a message of patriotism, faith, and of God's merciful love. But they should all know this. If you thought that my husband's mission was powerful before, you have no idea. You have no idea what you just have unleashed across this entire country and this world. You have no idea. You have no idea the fire that you have ignited within this wife. The cries of this widow will echo around the world like a battle cry. To everyone listening tonight across America, the movement my husband built will not die. It won't. I refuse to let that happen. It will not die. All of us will refuse to let that happen. No one will ever forget my husband's name, and I will make sure of it. It will become stronger, bolder, louder, and greater than ever. My husband's mission will not end, not even for a moment. And one of Charlie's greatest talents was his ability, this phenomenal ability to choose great people to follow him. He could always find the ones who could handle any setback. And it's almost like he knew. He could see it in you. Even when you couldn't see it in yourself, he just knew. He knew you could handle it. You thought you only had 5% left, and he knew you had 15. He knew you were ready to go that extra mile even when you didn't. He always challenged people around him to work harder and to be better. He never gave up. And I love knowing that one of his mottos was never surrender. So I want to tell you that we'll never surrender. We never will. Ever. Ever. Our campus tour this fall will continue. There will be even more tours in the years to come. America Fest here in Phoenix this December will go on. It will be greater than ever. The radio and podcast show that he was so proud of will go on. And in a world filled with chaos, doubt, and uncertainty, my husband's voice will remain. And it will ring out louder and more clearly than ever. And his wisdom will endure. My favorite too, but my husband's favorite word in the English language was earn. He would call all of you to be people of action who earn the future America deserves. So to all of the young people who felt inspired by my husband's faith and hard work, all of you already know what Charlie would want you to do. You know. You know. If you're in high school or if you're in college, go find your local Turning Point USA chapter. Join it. Stay involved. He wants you to make a difference. And you can. You can. The movement's not going anywhere, and it will only grow stronger when you join it. If there isn't a chapter, you can't find one, then start one. There is no excuse. You can start one. And as my husband used to say in this room, every single day, if you want to get involved, the best way you can do that is going to tpusa.com. That's what he would say every day from this chair. Every single day. I watched his show every day, and he would always say, if you want to get involved, go to tpusa.com. If you're a pastor, join our movement at TPUSA Faith. And if you're a parent, I highly recommend that you come to America Fest in December. Sign up right now for that because we would love to see you. I would love to see you. Charlie would. He'll be there. He'll be there in spirit. Bring your kids, bring your family. But most important of all, if you aren't a member of a church, I beg you to join one. A Bible-believing church. Our battle is not simply a political one. Above all, it is spiritual. It is spiritual. The spiritual warfare is palpable. Charlie loved his Savior with all of his heart, and he wanted every one of you to know him too. He wanted everyone to know that if they confess the Lord Jesus Christ who rose from the dead, then they will be saved. Hear me when I say this, nobody is ever too young to know the gospel. Nobody. Nobody is ever too young to get involved with saving this beautiful country, this country my husband loved and still loves. And nobody is ever too old either. There's no age limit. I know my husband is still here. He's watching over us. I don't remember the last time I slept. I couldn't sleep last night. And Charlie, baby. Charlie, I promise I will never let your legacy die, baby. I won't. I promise I'll make Turning Point USA the biggest thing that this nation has ever seen. I promise. Charlie, I love you. I love you, baby. Rest in the arms of our Lord as he blankets you with the words I know your heart always strived to hear. Well done, my good and faithful servant. When I got home last night, Gigi, our daughter, just ran into my arms. And I talked to her and she said, Mommy, I missed you. I said, I miss you too, baby. She goes, where's Daddy? What do you tell a 3-year-old? She's 3. I said, baby, Daddy loves you so much. Don't you worry. He's on a work trip with Jesus, so he can afford your blueberry budget. And my goodness, am I so humbled to witness, Charlie, you alongside Jesus right now, doing what you always want to do, baby. Making heaven crowded, right? That's what it's all about. Making heaven crowded. I can't wait to see you again one day. Thank you all again who love my husband, who supported him, who wrote him an email every single day during his radio show. He read all of them. All of them. God bless you all. And may God bless America.
Wow.
Wow.
I could never have done that. I could never have, not 2 days after. No way. And I was watching your chat and everyone seems to have, just a variety of reactions to it, which is what this is all about,
Yeah.
But I also believe, and I don't fall in line with their ideology.
Yeah.
I'm not on all fours with it. I don't have any criticism of it, but I don't
Right.
fall on all fours with it. But I will say, as far as me observing her, I'd never heard of her until this happened. She's right in that this very selfish, solitary act to silence one voice is going to have the absolute unintended consequence of causing more voices to rise. So you're making a problem worse with violence, and that could be used in so many different examples, whether it's silencing free speech, quieting someone whose views you disagree with, or even in a domestic setting. Violence is never the answer. It's not a solution. I'm so in awe of her words. And you are very emotional.
No, I don't think that I could. I'm just thinking, like, from her perspective, like, I don't think I could ever get up there. And I mean, that is That is power. And she's like, oh, you think we're stopping? No, we're doubling down now. We're going to keep going. And that's what you have to do in these situations. So I'm, and that was the thing. It
Yeah.
was like, I was waiting to see how she was going to react in the sense of like, is this going to be the end of their organization? No, she's doubling down and they have a plan. And, I don't want to preference, what do they call that? Preference? Is that the word I'm looking for? Like have conversations before something. What's the word I'm looking for?
Predict?
Prefix? Is it prefix?
Prefix, yeah.
Right.
Keep talking. I'll pick up what you're putting down.
Do they have conversations like, hey, if anything, we still go on. This is what we do. We keep pushing, we keep pushing. We don't show any fear.
Oh, you're asking, are you asking if she and her husband spoke about this before?
Yeah. Like, I wonder if they've ever had like, hey, I don't know. I don't know their private affairs. I'm just saying, like, is this do you have like, hey, if anything were to happen, do we, thank you. Preface. I was looking, I'm probably saying the word wrong. Preface. Thank you.
Preface.
Why I'm not getting this.
That's okay.
But I'm sure, having these conversations, it's wow. I'm just really
I would
blown
imagine
away.
they did. I mean, obviously we were not in their marital relationship, but he was of high profile. He was controversial. And that is not in any way commenting other than the fact that I'm objectively observing.
Right.
Some people did not agree with his mindset. So I'm sure there had to have been some discussions between husband and wife as to what would happen if. But I don't know. She's clearly in shock. I mean, she's stunned because nobody, life is so precious. Like I was talking to a very good friend this week, and we were talking about, live each day like it's your last. Because you just don't know. You don't know if an accident's going to happen or a senseless act of violence or an illness. So that's really the sense I had gotten from him as I loosely followed his, his lessons through the years. But no one expects to be 31 years old, married with children under the age of 5, and to be struck down like this in such a callous way. But I'm sure that they had a plan, and I'm really, I feel so badly for the family and for those who believed in his teachings or mindset, whatever one would call them. But I will say, like, it does sound like this is going to embolden whatever platform or platforms align with their mindset. And it's going to have the absolute unintended effect that those involved with this tragic act of violence that they maybe did not expect. And also, I don't know if you picked up on it, but I got the sense from something she said that there may be more than one person.
Yeah. And it's crazy that you said that. She said perpetrators, or I think that's the word she used, which is very
plural.
interesting.
It was definitely plural, which was my that was my initial thought too, just because these things tend to have to be orchestrated to some degree. And I know there was commentary at the outset that this seemed to be professional in its style, for lack of a better word. But and I remember I had posted something on X a day or two ago. Was it yesterday? I've lost track of days. But when I posted on X that I had been holding out faith, and I mean, I almost don't know why I had, because it was such a fatal blow. But with that said, I had used like a plural term in my X post, and some people commented like, do you know something? Is this more than one person? So it'd be interesting. She probably knows more, I would imagine, than the average news reporting agency does as to who's involved.
Yeah, and that was a lot of the speculation about this too. Like I was even talking about it at work. Like, did this this Tyler James Robinson, did he have any communication with people that were actually setting up the event? Did he know where the tent was going to be placed at the specific? I mean, he had a straight shot down into that tent, according to the authorities. I mean, he was 600 feet away, down, shooting down, down range into that. So did he have, was he able to get a plan of the setup? Did he have someone? I mean, they're saying right now that he had no ties to the school, but that doesn't necessarily mean that he didn't know anybody or, their conversations. And I also saw another interesting thing that was put out on X today was, what was it? Dylan Roof is the guy that was the Sandy Hook shooter. I believe Roof was his last name, and I may have the last name wrong, so correct me in the chat if I'm wrong. And in this Tyler Robinson, they said, oh, they both spoke on Discord, that Discord server. So what types of conversations were these people having? And they were kind of tagging the FBI, and they're like, FBI, you should be looking into this. I'm sure they are. I'm sure they are.
Oh, yes. And sometimes with any investigation like this, even in a school shooting scenario, the local or federal authorities, whomever's involved, they always will dig deeper. They just want to make sure that, as Todd McGee would say, you have to kick the tires. You have to explore all avenues just so someone can understand. And if it obviously were to go before a jury, that there were no other people involved, because you certainly would not want a criminal defendant pointing the finger at potential co-defendants who should have been charged as well, because that impedes and can hamper an investigation and
Right.
ultimately a prosecution. What do we got here? You're gonna make me
So
read
this is the
something
probable
tiny?
cause affidavit.
After
And
David.
yeah, it was after David, and it was posted by my friend Steve Fisher. He has a X account, Steve SF Investigates. He did a lot of work in the Chelsea Grimm case. It was a missing young lady quite a few years ago that went missing in Ash Fork, Arizona, in the state park up there. I covered the case, and unfortunately, there still hasn't been any conclusion in Chelsea's case. She still is missing, but I had Steve on the channel quite a few times, and he actually posted this here. And I know it's kind of hard to read, but it goes through the charges, which is one charge of aggravated murder, one felony discharge of a firearm causing serious bodily injury, and then the other charge is obstruction of justice, capital first-degree felony conduct. And it will go into. Let's see. It says, I believe there's a probable cause to charge the defendant with these charges because the following information has been obtained by your after from the police officer's multiple video recordings posted on social media websites, Utah Valley University campus surveillance cameras, and those who witnessed the incident. On September 10, 2025, Charlie James Kirk was at the Utah University campus in Orem, Utah for a political event. Mr. Kirk was a conservative political activist who was scheduled to speak at an event. I just want to go, according to the video, Charles was wearing a white t-shirt and dark pants, sitting under a white canopy in the courtyard of the campus facing to the east. The event attended by hundreds of individuals. Charles was surrounded by people, with multiple individuals to his left and his right and his rear, and in front of the canopy. Behind the canopy was a walkway used for access to various parts of the university. Charles was holding a microphone and speaking into the crowd. While speaking to the crowd, the microphone, a loud gunshot was heard approximately at 12:23 hours. In charge appeared to have been hit in the neck. Blood was seen coming out of the left side of his neck and fell over to his left. Charles was transported to Topangos, I think that's what it's, Topangos Regional Hospital in Orem. Charles was pronounced deceased at the hospital. Investigators reviewed the Utah Valley University surveillance cameras. Let's see. While reviewing the surveillance cameras, investigators observed an individual that was on the rooftop of the Luce Center building at UVU campus at the time of the shooting. Hereafter, the unidentified individual, whom we refer to as suspect, Based on the surveillance camera footage, suspect appeared to be a white male with dark colored hair, wearing dark colored glasses, sunglasses, a long sleeve black shirt with a picture of an American flag and eagle printed on the shirt, dark colored jeans, and a white gray shoes with white colored shoelaces. The shoes appeared to be consistent with Chuck Taylor or Converse style shoes. Suspect was also carrying a dark colored backpack on his back. Suspect walks to a distinctive gait. Prior to the shooting, suspect appears to be walking with a stiff right leg and his relatively slow pace. Suspect's ability to bend his right leg appears to be restricted. Investigators were also able to track suspect movement on the UV campus starting at approximately 11:50 hours on 9/10. So he was there approximately maybe 30 minutes before he took the shot in.
Yeah.
So you start thinking like, how did he map this out? Did he use Google Earth and got a clear layout of the land, or did he do a dry run? Could he have done a dry run in like the middle of the night,
So
under the cover of like darkness? That's all the things that they're going to have to try to figure out.
And also they would have to look at Charlie Kirk's schedule. So I tell everyone I wasn't an avid
was he
follower.
following around? You know what I
Right.
mean?
Like, does he have his schedule of events on his website? Does he have a blast list where it would be abundantly clear where his events were? Is this individual, I think you said Tyler is from the general geographic community.
He lived 3 hours away from the campus, and again, reports said that he had no particular ties to the campus.
Okay.
So
So
he's local.
they're going to look at this from all different angles to determine, whether it was this individual, Tyler Robinson, involved, whether he had anyone working collaboratively with him. Did anyone assist? I mean, there could be conspiracy charges too that stem from this. This will be fully explored, and because there are political undertones to it, I'm sure it will get fast tracked.
Yeah.
I really
Just
do.
Joe says, was the gun in his pants? Like, sorry if that sounds stupid. No, it doesn't sound stupid at all. I mean, I get what you're saying. Like, was he hiding in the pants? I don't know, but I think there was a report that he might have got injured on the way that he was going there. Or I would think, falling off that building, he probably injured himself too. Because that was a pretty high jump that he had to jump down from. When we saw that video coming off that roof, he went onto a lower roof and jumped down. But there was reports that I guess he had a limp prior. Because they caught him in the neighborhood in some security footage walking actually to the campus, but I don't know. This was so much confusing information. I saw things of like on X, like, you got to check out this flight. It left immediately right after. And I'm like, how can you even think or say that that's even part of any of the investigation? We don't know. We don't know.
These types of crimes nowadays are getting more difficult to pull off, and I'm happy about that. Think about, and I hearken again back to the unnecessary killing of the United Healthcare executive by Luigi Mangione in December of 2024. He was on the lam for just a handful of days and made his way out of New York City, it just boggled my mind, working there regularly. There's cameras everywhere. Made his way all the way out to, I believe it was Altoona, Pennsylvania. But the federal authorities were on him and his trail very quickly and ruling out whether he had taken trains, whether he had gone to other states besides Pennsylvania. So the same type of analysis is underway now, even if they believe that they've caught the right suspect. I don't recall if they've identified Mr. Robinson as a suspect or a person of interest, but I'd be interested also to know because I too, whomever just posted that last chat, I too had the same opinion, which was, did he have his weapon down his pants, to like his rifle, to conceal it? But if he was injured, did he receive medical treatment? If he received, if he broke a bone from jumping off a roof or anything like that, and it required medical attention, are there any hospital visits or urgent care visits that might be substantiating to, his culpability? So it's very interesting the way these federal investigations work. And I would dare say, like, in the next, I would say 24 to 72 hours, there's going to be much, much more. And Erica Kirk's, it was almost like a eulogy and a call to arms, if I were to describe
not those arms.
Not those arms.
Yes, not those arms. We don't want any of that.
To stand together, and to
stand
grow
together.
stronger with your voice.
Right.
And I would say, if I gave her one critique, like, I would have made sure that she emphasized that violence should not be met with violence. But that's not her responsibility to do that. That's human nature to know not to do that, you know?
Yeah, let's watch this little kind of 2-minute recap. This actually shows the video, I think the limping video too. I pulled this up earlier. Let's see.
We want to let you know that we are hearing from Fox News, courtesy of President Trump, who spoke to them a short time ago, that a suspect is now in custody in connection with the murder of Charlie Kirk, who was assassinated there on Wednesday while speaking over at Utah Valley University. We did have these photos that were released just yesterday showing who investigators say they were looking for. Now, they did label this person a person of interest, others referring to them as a suspect interchangeably. Now, it's not clear.
What's surprising, Nan, looking at these photos, I thought the guy was a lot older. I thought he was like in his 30s, not 22, right?
Me too. Which, by the way, 22 or in your 30s, that's still young compared to
but I'm saying, like, a lot older. I mean, 22 to me is very young. I mean, I'm still young, but 22 is very young. But I mean, looking at this, I mean, I would go, that guy's probably like 34, 35 years old.
Agreed.
And maybe that was what was so confusing, why the FBI and law enforcement officials were asking for a lot of help from the public. Maybe they were confused about I mean, I don't know, maybe.
Yeah, he definitely, maybe it's part of the disguise, but it's frightening to know that, and I say this now, I'm going to sound like a boomer, but I feel like a 22-year-old, I mean, they're just starting out with their adult life. Some graduate college at that age if they've attended college. I feel like in some respects, and they're adults, but are their brains even formed enough to really fully understand the full consequences of their actions? Yes. But come on now, like you have to, I hope when my kids are 22 years old, that they know better than to solve their problems this way. I really do. And that goes to parenting. And I don't want to be on a platform and start criticizing parenting, but even it's not just setting a good example for your kids, it's making sure that they're mentally stable. And if they're not, and I've looked at a lot, I'm a true crime aficionado, unfortunately, or fortunately. I've looked at a lot of true crime matters. And when there's senseless acts like this, I say to myself, where were the parents? Where were the parents? Because there's typically signs that there's instability in some degree beforehand.
Super, super correct on that one. All right, let's play through here. Hang on.
This person, a person of interest, others referring to them as a suspect interchangeably. Now, it's not clear quite yet if this is the situation here, and that if this person is the actual suspect that was taken into custody. We do have very limited details, but what we know comes from President Trump, who did say, quote, with a high degree of certainty, he believes the suspect is in custody. Now, he also said that he doesn't want Charlie to be remembered in the way of that graphic video that's been circulated all over social media. He also said, quote, with a high degree of certainty, we have him. Trump said a minister who is also involved with law enforcement turned in the suspect to authorities. Quote, somebody that was very close to him said, that's him. Again, that is a direct quote coming in from President Trump as he was speaking with Fox News a short time ago. We also have this post coming in here from Fox. This is Matt Finn with Fox News Channel, who says sources tell Fox that Charlie Kirk assassin was taken into custody in southern Utah We are on the ground and on the way. If you were watching a bit earlier, you did see that we had Connor Hansen with Fox News Live for us. We'll try to get him to join us here live, maybe in the next little bit, to break down more about what we found and at this point, what they're still working to figure out. Now, if you are just joining us, we have a lot of new information as we know that according to President Trump, the person responsible for the assassination of Charlie Kirk is now in custody. I do want to show you this video that was released by the FBI just yesterday, and they say that it shows the shooter there at Utah Valley University seen jumping from the rooftop of a building after that gunshot was fired. Agents saying around 12 p.m. local time on Wednesday, so less than 48 hours ago, the gunman was seen climbing up to the rooftop. Then, after killing Charlie Kirk, they say he jumps off and runs away.
It's crazy. That's a hell of a drop, though. I mean, that's far.
It is.
Probably a good 10, 15 feet, I would assume.
I keep watching this and I keep saying this wasn't well thought out because if you're scoping, I mean, I don't like to educate criminals, but if you're going to scope out a crime scene and presumably it was scoped out, like, and there's a sniping element to it, then you know there needs to be an escape because the trajectory of your weaponry is going to be tracked very quickly. People will hear where the sound came from, look where the sound came from. There's cameras everywhere. This is a campus. I just don't think this was well thought out, which, you know, criminals are stupid. But we'll learn more, but I definitely think that it's looking like Mr. Robinson's going to be spending the rest of his life and/or will face the DP for doing this. I'd be interested to know what his mindset was.
Yeah. I'm just reading here because there's been a lot of conversation about, you know, was he well-trained marksman? And I'll go to Steve Fisher Investigates. He had a post on X a little while ago, about 2 hours ago. So personally, I don't believe Tyler Robinson was a well-trained marksman, certainly not an assassin that many have portrayed the shooter to be. I think simply, unfortunately, he got very lucky. He was almost certainly aiming for the head and likely failed to account for gravity bullet drop from the downward angle, shots coupled with adrenaline and fueled trigger pull. You know, I'll also add this too. You know, if you go back and watch, I saw some drone videos just after Charlie was unfortunately murdered. Just a couple hours later, they had a drone that went over that area, and they did have crime scene tape up on the roof, and it was very windy that day too. So, you know, going in and knowing, and I watch a lot of the stuff on YouTube about the military and stuff, you know, when they're training military trained snipers, they take in account for wind direction and stuff like that too. So I think it was probably windy that day, and that would account too. But let me finish this here. It says Kirk was clearly wearing body armor, and based on the entrance wound, I believe that the bullet may have deflected off the top of the armor plate and bounced upwards into his neck. Without the armor, the bullet possibly would have entered just below the collarbone. No trained sniper or a, quote, wannabe assassin would ever intentionally aim for the neck. A trained shooter would aim for center mass or head. And of course, this is just all an opinion. And I know Steve is pretty well trained in firearms. I'm not a firearm expert, and it's only his opinion. But I don't know. It's just interesting.
I had heard a little bit about that in the last day, and what a tremendous irony that would be. You're wearing body armor and then ultimately a ricochet. Yeah. And also I did hear the mixture. Some people were saying, oh, this was definitely an expert hit because look where they hit him. And now I've heard a bunch of people, including this individual, say, oh, no, you would aim center mass or head. So yeah, it's probably amateur, which, you know, that would align with the rest of what I'm seeing with this crime. I'm just happy that they can get suspects into custody this quick and something like this doesn't go and become a cold case or start draining hundreds and thousands of dollars of resources to try to track someone down. But
Yeah, so this
very quick.
Yeah, this was my speculation too, and I'll just pull this up. Welcher's emotional support laptop says a lot of family pics with pew-pews from a very young age seems to be a hunter. Yeah, we talked about this at work today. I said, look, they live out in Utah. It's open field out there. I'm probably, his dad was reportedly, from what I'm hearing, there was reports saying that he was a former law enforcement agent or a sheriff. I'm probably suspecting that they probably shot a lot of guns. And he actually had done, was probably, I wouldn't say a professional, but knew firearms, probably had used them before. So, knowing what Steve said and knowing the caliber of, expertise he knows in these areas, I probably tend to believe, or agree with Steve, like, yeah, maybe this guy just got lucky, unfortunately. And it just took someone's life that didn't need to be taken.
Right.
And seeing Erica tonight, and I think probably the most emotional point for me was when she said her kid, like her daughter came and said, "Where's daddy?" I mean, that's going to be a long conversation for many, 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 many years. And it's tough.
It is. And you mentioned that even before she spoke. I can tell you my own personal observation as a parent, which is, as I mentioned before, ultimately, just biologically, they're just not going to remember him. She'll remind them. But it's interesting in my view, because had they been a little older, it would even be more difficult but they are so young, a 3 and a 1-year-old. It's almost like a blessing, in my opinion, as a mom, because they are young. They're not going to understand, but I would think they're just going to process their sadness and confusion kind of quickly. That's my observation. It doesn't mean that the loss is not going to be felt and the residual from that for the rest of their lives. That will. I mean, these children deserved a father, and frankly, one who they could be very proud of. I mean, he seemed to be a great man, regardless of how anyone feels about his ideology.
Yeah.
So I'm just hopeful that the children and Erica pass through this, and they'll never get fully past it, but pass through it as quickly as possible.
I agree. So Travis, we have another lawyer in the room, says, and he seems to know a lot about Tyler's background. He says his dad is a hunter, so is his mom. Any kid in Utah or Texas who had hunted since 12 could make that shot. He used a very, very common deer hunting caliber weapon. So.
Yeah. A lot of this is geographic, like you see, I've seen this in true crime cases that I have followed, where different parts of our country, guns are more acceptable at all different ages. And generally it's tied to hunting or protection of property. So that would not surprise me, Travis.
Yeah. Let's do this. We'll do a couple more segments and then we'll wrap up here. So there was a question that was posed on X, and it says, should Matthew Robinson, Tyler's father, be eligible to receive the $100,000 reward for turning his son in?
Oh,
I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. I have my thought. I really have my thought on this, and I think it would be the right thing to do.
I didn't know there was a reward. So you're getting me like, this is me off the cuff. Yes.
So some people are saying he wouldn't take it. No. People are saying absolutely not. Okay, go ahead.
I say yes, but no one come at me for that. I didn't know about this reward. I don't know if I only heard secondhand that the father turned him in. I don't know if the father bears any culpability, if he missed signs and symptoms and didn't properly monitor his son. So holding all of those things aside, I believe that if there was a reward that was legally offered and the father turned him in, which I think we could all agree it would have been a hard thing to do, I think, yeah, give him the reward, but with strings attached. That money cannot go to pay for the defense of the child, the perpetrator. Two, that money cannot in any way be used to profit from this whatsoever, whether it's, creating some type of entity to foment some type of ideology that's anti Charlie Kirk. I also do believe that if the reward was paid to the father with strings attached to it, it could incentivize more parents to come forward and turn their children in who have been culpable in a criminal manner, or encourage them to be more responsible before crimes are committed. But that's just my off the cuff reaction. I probably might have a different one in the morning.
Take it and donate it. Put it in trust for those kids. That's what I would do. Put it in trust for those kids. If I was any part of, if it, some people are saying that was, I guess, a family friend, and again, we come corrected here. But if it was a dad or a family friend and that money was given to law enforcement, one, I would probably say no. But if they insisted to take it, I would just donate it to Charlie's kids and put it in a trust for them. I would do something like that.
What a poignant and very symbolic gesture. Yeah. Right. Like, I think that would be great. Yeah.
I wouldn't want, I don't know. Personally, I wouldn't want, I mean, listen, this guy was assassinated. I don't want any monetary thing. I would say no, but I would just privately say, donate it to the family or a cause or something. I wouldn't want to take it.
Yeah. And what an interesting, that's really interesting. I did not know you were going to ask me that. I think if it's paid to him, and by the way, these types of rewards, they're deemed to be contracts. It's an offer, consideration, and acceptance. So there's an offer to pay. Someone relies upon that and gives due consideration, like the father, for example, and he accepts the offer for the reward and turns his son in. It is grounded in contract law, which is Hornbook contract law from hundreds of years ago. With that said, if the father, it's an opportunity for him to do the right thing, which is put it in trust for the children, donate it, use it for some reason other than to embetter his life, his own life. And I saw someone posted in your chat, like he may need to use it for his own defense. I don't know the answer to that. What I can tell you is it's becoming more and more common in our country to hold parents, not of 22-year-olds, but of minors, criminally responsible for this type of conduct of their children. So we'll have to see. You should actually, well, I don't want to tell you how to run your channel. That's a good poll to ask people. How do you feel? Yeah. What should happen to that?
Yeah. Let's bounce back. Actually, real quick, I want to just show this really quick. This was a couple of hours ago. Someone had shown up at the Turning Point headquarters with bagpipes and actually played bagpipes outside. And I'll play this video really quick. It's really sad.
Oh, the bagpipes get me.
Yeah.
Wow.
Thank you.
Wow.
It's such a distinct instrument, and unfortunately it's used in a lot of sad times. The
Yeah.
bagpipes are played, but it's
It's
that's
very
pretty
touching.
amazing. It is
When
very touching.
when my father passed away, I hired a bagpiper who
Wow.
played, and that just brought back a lot of memories. But I find it so appropriate for these types
Yeah.
of occasions. And it sounds like that person, or it looks like that person, just showed up on his own, which is really touching.
Yeah. Let's go back quick to some local, and then we'll wrap up. And I want to thank everybody for joining us for this conversation tonight. It's not easy to have these conversations, but I think that we have to have conversations like this to advance our society and advance our way of thinking. To
Yeah.
have civil discussions like this. And I want to just say that a lot, everybody in this chat tonight has been very respectful, and we have seen people on both sides. That there was people in the chat that said, "Hey, I don't agree with Charlie's points or politics, but a human being was tragically killed over speech, and we can't have things like that happen." Again, I want to thank everybody for being here and being respectful through this, and we'll talk about really quickly some other local stuff. So Brian Walshe back in the news, and his trial is getting ready to set forth in October. So Brian Walshe was stabbed in Norfolk County Correction Center. And it says Brian Walshe, the Massachusetts man accused of killing and dismembering his wife in 2023, was stabbed on Thursday night in Norfolk County Sheriff Correction Center. Walshe, 48, was arrested on January 18, 2023, and indicted by a grand jury on charges of including murder, misleading police investigation, obstruction of justice, and improper convey of a human body. Anna's body was never found. Walshe was also on trial. I just want to get to the sheriff office said at approximately 9:55 p.m. an individual in custody at the Norfolk County Sheriff's Correction Center in Dedham was treated for non-life-threatening injuries after being assaulted inside one of the facility housing units. Officers intervened and rendered first aid. None of the officers were injured. Officials said Walshe was taken to Beth Israel Deacon's Medical Center in Boston and later discharged. His attorney said he returned to jail overnight. The other individual involved, who was not named, was subdued by officers in a makeshift blunt instrument was recovered, officials said. Earlier this summer, a judge allowed key pieces of evidence of prosecution of the coming trial. And he's just going to go into about Proctor. So what do you think? Walshe opening up his mouth a little bit, and people probably, I don't know,
I have a devious little smile on my face because I'm a firm believer in an eye for an eye and like true justice. Maybe that's why I do like true crime, because I want the bad guys to get caught, etc. But Brian Walshe, like, I don't feel any sympathy for you, bro. Like, you don't fit the typical demographic for being at risk in prison. Like, there's some other demographics of types of crimes which might invite more jail-related violence or prison-related violence to come his way. But I can't say I was unhappy to hear that he got stabbed, and I'm happy he's back.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
Hey, you're gonna listen. If you want to play that game and you want to take people's lives, you're gonna end up in an area with people that are hostile and they have nothing to lose. So if you piss some of them off, they're gonna come at you. And it tends to happen when you go in the big house. And I don't know. I personally, I think he's guilty as fuck. I can have that I can have that opinion.
You can.
Just knowing the track record and knowing, I have the Brian Walshe file and going through all the filings and reading through the affidavit. It's just like, yeah, this guy's sick enough to Google stuff on his son's iPad.
So
I mean, it's nuts. And just all the other pieces of evidence that have led up. The Proctor connection is going to be very interesting. I know there's been some hearings and arguments about it. I'm not sure the judge is going to dismiss any of that, but
right. I don't think the judge will.
Yeah, we'll have to see.
I feel like Brian Walshe and maybe at some point, like I will do a deeper dive into his case. But from everything I've heard, that was part of the probable cause affidavit, and with all of the evidence, including the Google searches on the child's, I think it's a 6-year-old's iPad, this was a very premeditated crime. They have, in my opinion, they have the right person in custody, and too bad, so sad. He ended up getting injured while in custody. Oh well. As long as you're healthy and well enough to stand trial in October, that's the extent of what I have to say about it.
All right, let's talk a little bit about Enrique Delgado Garcia. There's been some update in his case. Tomorrow will be a year. I am frustrated. Many are frustrated. And it looks like Ted Daniel did some investigating. So state paid over $500,000 to investigate into police academy death. So my thought on this is, okay, and from what I know, you have to think that there are lawyers, there are union reps that step in and tend to throw these walls up in times like this. And I'm not making any excuse at all. I'm just telling you what I know. Also, you got to think, they went through, probably investigated every single person in that academy, all of the recruits that were there, probably talked to previous classes as well. $500,000 is an insane price tag where we're sitting a year out. And I've emailed David Meyer and said, where is this update? I've put, of course, he ain't gonna say anything to me. I got a very standard, typical email a few months ago as of, David has gotten your inquiry and there's no comment at this time. It's getting crazy. This needs to have some type of conclusion. We had some previous updates to this as well. But
that's an exorbitant
family.
I'm so sorry, Brian, for interrupting you.
No,
that's an exorbitant amount of money to spend on an investigation where there's really no sound answers and resolution coming out at this point. As was, for example, in Karen Reed's case, that was an exorbitant amount of money to be paid over the course of two trials. But $500,000 in 1 year's time, this family needs peace. They need full resolution. And honestly, as a litigator of 25 years, I can say this, that money, criminal culpability aside, that money, which is paid, I presume, out of the Commonwealth's pocket, because it's a state police matter, that money is better saved for budgetary purposes to be paid out of, like, what they call it, a captive policy that would pay out in a civil litigation filed by his family, right? So they filed their lawsuit, I believe, right? I know they have a lawyer. Did they actually file a lawsuit yet? Do we know that?
Yeah, there was an article. Hang on, let me see if I can find the article, because the lawyer just spoke out.
Sorry to make you dig for it.
No, it's okay. I know there was an update. Let's see. Yeah, so the most, and I don't mind going over this again, but real quick, Mass Lady 1234 says, Brian, have you spoke to the family recently? Have you gotten anything from the attorneys, even if it can't be released to the public yet? I mean, this has been pretty cut and, like, what I've talked about and what's been reported in the mainstream media, it's been pretty cut and dry. I mean, we know what happened in the situation. To me, what I think is, where was the absolute breakdown in this? Who was monitoring these boxing matches? What was the overall protocol? That's the things that, from what I'm understanding, are getting looked into. Who is responsible? Who is responsible for overseeing this? And that's why, obviously, the boxing program got shut down. Who was doing medical evaluations at the time of this? So you're going to get into those type of things as well too. As far as communication, I tend not to bother the family. unless they kind of reach out to me. And I had some communication with Enrique's uncle back in August, and basically just said, you know, the work that you've been developing in favor of justice for our dear Enrique has been very important. And we've had some conversations outside of that shorter conversation. And it's just really keeping the story alive and keeping the pressure out there. And I'm glad that Ted has jumped on this as well, too. And he's been pretty prominent in reporting about this as well, too. He's done a great job. Yeah. So the one that I was talking about last week, they did reveal the cause of death, and it was not an aneurysm. And I know that's been put out there. So Enrique Delgado Garcia, cause of death, revealed as blunt force trauma.
Right.
And of course, all these ads have to pop up. So Enrique Delgado Garcia died accidentally of blunt force trauma injury to his head, according to the autopsy shared with his family. Let's see. I'm going to read this. It says the results of the autopsy were shared with Delgado Garcia's family, and their lawyer, Mike Wilcox, relayed the finding to the Globe. He declined to share the copy of the report with the newspaper, and did not return any request of comment to Boston.com. Goes on to say Delgado Garcia died of complications from intracranial hemorrhage due to blunt impact injuries of the head and in the setting of a physical training exercise. The medical examiner's office deemed the death an accident. He said that it was note that Delgado Garcia was injured during physical training exercises. The autopsy found that Delgado Garcia had a heart issue. This is really strange. A pre-myocarditis, I think I said that right, with progression of inflammatory cardiomyopathy.
Perimyocarditis.
You might know what this is. Of an unknown cause, according to the Globe, and then perimyocarditis, I think I said that right, refers to an inflammation of the heart and the sac around it, which can weaken the heart muscle. There's no way that they can spin, and I like that Wilcox is saying this, there's no way that they can spin this excuse on their conduct of failure to monitor this properly. Wilcox told the Globe, referring to safety concerns at the training academy. The incident surrounding Delgado Garcia's death has far been unclear. Previous, the family had that he said he had missing teeth and suffered a broken neck and brain injury. A friend from the Worcester previously said that Delgado called the training conditions torture, citing hazing conditions. A former police trainee who was at the same class as Delgado Garcia said he endured alleged bullying and racist remarks. In a statement, the police spoke and said fully cooperated with the investigation and waits for the finding from Maya's independent investigation. And then let's see. Meyer didn't return a request for comment on Wednesday, but Wilcox told the Globe he's satisfied with the ongoing investigation, adding that, quote, it appears to have not neglected to look at any aspect of this. Let's see. And then it's just going to talk about some of the events that have gone on in the last couple of years with the.
You know, I'd be interested to know, and maybe Todd McGee knows this, do the trainees or cadets, whatever they're referred to, do they undergo a physical before they?
Of course, 100%, because I remember talking to the family about it, and they said that he had no issues going into the academy. He was cleared to attend the academy. They said, I remember talking to his sister, and his sister said she couldn't even remember the last time that he reported that he had a headache. That's how clear he was.
That tracks for me, but what doesn't track is the fact that he had perimyocarditis tied with what's called cardiomyopathy. Now, I am not an expert, but I've handled a lot of cases involving those conditions. That's a persistent cardiac related condition. It's actually two conditions, which you often see tied hand in hand. If he had a full-throated physical examination, and sometimes, you know, you go for a physical and, you know, they're very superficial. You're not actually getting a cardiac workup or an EKG or anything like that. So it is very possible a pro forma physical did not pick up on an underlying cardiac condition. But it's weird, as I listen to this, that doesn't it kind of remind you of A Few Good Men with the hazing incident, the Code Red? involving Private Santiago. He too had an underlying cardiac condition, and he was hazed, not in a boxing ring, which the hazing act itself ended up precipitating his death. But with all of that said, his family, I know they have a lawyer. I don't know that they've sued yet. They've put the state on notice that they are going to sue if they haven't sued yet. But as a taxpayer of the Commonwealth, which I am not, I would be interested in and really rooting for the Commonwealth to be spending its resources not to a tune of $500,000 to advance this investigation, but to keep that money, do a swift, thorough investigation, and then use that money to help compensate the family somewhat out of a captive policy. To, nothing will ever bring Enrique back, but there's some things that can be done to help make them whole again from a financial standpoint, because in the eyes of the law, the family will be deprived of his, they call it loss of consortium, his future services that he could provide to his parents in the future, all of those things. So that's a ridiculous amount of money to be spent.
The boxing match did happen. It did happen. So I want to make that very clear. It was during that boxing match, and that's where the blunt force injuries came from. So I want to make it very clear, because you got to think, these are not professionally trained athletes. They're just going in there and winging it at each other. Yes. You know what I mean? And you can go and watch. There's videos of these training exercises that are done properly, and I want to put that in there, properly online. And we've gone over those videos with I remember we did a stream with Mazza. Todd has been on here, and we went over the proper procedure, how to do these. So I want people to understand this. The match did happen, and it just was in an improper way. So you have to look at who is responsible, who is letting this happen. And that was the digging in the investigation. Why it's taking, tomorrow will be a year. Wow. Is insane. Just Joe is talking about the heart condition, and they're saying it's a red herring. I'm telling you, the state is gonna, I'm gonna speculate here, but the state's gonna come back with their argument and say, oh no, it was because of the heart condition. Oh yeah. I guarantee you.
Yes, and I agree with Just Joe as well that it's a red herring. But the state will need a medical expert to approximately cause
here we go.
the death to the heart injury. Like the heart injury had to help precipitate.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. They're gonna go, oh well, the heart injury sped up the head injury.
We actually have something in law called the eggshell skull doctrine. And if that doesn't bore you guys enough on a Friday night, but what the eggshell skull doctrine means is you take your plaintiff as you find them. So if you end up, Brian, let's say you get in a bar fight and you punch someone in the face, and that person has an underlying bone condition where their bones are frail and they have calcium deficiencies, and if they get any hits, everything crumbles from a structural standpoint. That person sues you and says, look, you've destroyed my face with your fists, and I'm now crumbling, and I'm very injured. In the eyes of the law, you can't just say, well, that's not my fault. You have this crumbling bone deficiency. That's not my fault. I just gave you a good right hook. You take your plaintiff as you find them. So in this case, which is not a civil case yet, I don't believe, there's going to be allegations against the Massachusetts State Police. Whether or not this was some type of murder, manslaughter, or any of that, at a minimum, what I'm seeing is negligence and failure to supervise, criminal negligence, in my opinion. But with that said, when that civil lawsuit comes, if not criminal ramifications and charges in the future, the Commonwealth is going to argue it was a heart condition that sped all of this up, and the attorneys for whomever, whether it's in the civil litigation, if it's the family's attorney advancing the claim, or if it's in any other related co-defendants attorneys, they're going to have to argue that this is a red herring, as Just Joe called it.
Yeah.
And that it really was blunt force.
Yeah. And I want to keep everybody in mind, back in June, it was reported that the grand jury testimony, this was being heard in front of a grand jury.
Mm-hmm.
And I reported after as well, too, because I had a source that tipped me off. People were pissed. They're like, why are you talking about that? This is at the fucking grand jury. I'm like, the mainstream media talked about this was at the grand jury. If I have a source that tips me, I mean, it's the same thing that they get. They get sources, and people were pissed that I said that. And I'm like, I want everybody to know that not only in June, this was also at another session that this was heard during the grand jury. So they're going over this, information. I just listen. Come on, Nan. 1 year.
Yeah.
This
it's
is
too long. Not for this type of claim. No way. In a year, this could have been figured out in maybe a week's time, maybe a little longer, because of lab work and other related medical testing, whether it's toxicology reports, and maybe there's a lot of people who had to be interviewed. But a year's time, this is telling me there is a cover up in the works.
Yeah. And again, I'm not making an excuse. You got to think, you have to go through that whole academy. What did people know? What did people see? Who is in charge? You know what I mean? This is what I want people to get. And then what happens is, when all those fucking questions come in from lawyers and investigators, guess what happens? And you know this, everybody lawyers up, and because they're a union, they get their union rep involved. So everybody just shuts down, and it slows the entire process down. I want my lawyer and I want my union rep here. So
I have to say, this is the kind of thing that makes lawyers have a bad name, because I'm sure people have lawyered up. I'm sure there's also probably a little bit of Karen Reed type of collaboration of stories, like the McAlberts. There's a lining of stories, but also whomever is doing the investigating, they're probably also looking into the entire boxing program historically. Were there prior incidents? Should they have known? Because that ties in with that cardiac issue. Should the Massachusetts State Police, through its supervisors on site, should they have known previously that this program was not properly being managed? Were there reasons why it was not done safely? And those are things that I'd love to hear Todd McGee's thoughts on too.
Hang on one second, but if I want to read this really quick. Let's see. There was a list. We had a list before of the team of all the people that were involved in the investigation. It was like 8 or 10 of them at the time. I don't have the article here, but why? Yeah, and this is the question: why does it cost $500,000? The union can't stop a criminal investigation.
They can sure stall it, but you're right.
You think they can't, but they can sure fucking stall it. Believe me. Because listen, this is a big, I don't want to say like scandal, but this is a big happening at the academy. And what is, and this is how lawyers and unions work. If something happens at their facility, like you're all right. I'm trying to word this correctly. What does the state police commonly do every couple of months? They try to recruit new cadets to come into the academy. If you have someone that dies at the academy, how good does that make your academy look? So what they're doing is that in my opinion here, I think they're going to try to fucking just erase this and make it go away. But we've had great people and had these conversations and keep this public and opening this up so it doesn't get forgotten about. I don't want the state police to forget about this. I don't want new recruits or cadets that are going to go into the academy to ever forget about this.
Right.
Like they should know what they're getting into. And given the track record of the state police over the fucking last 20 years, I'm sorry, Nan, I'm not walking in there and going, I'd love to join your organization.
I'd pay money to see that. But it's true, and they don't have the leverage to like speak up because you want to be an officer, so you're getting hazed. It's like joining a fraternity. You don't want to say, "Hey, this is unacceptable," So everyone needs to go into that endeavor with eyes wide open. There is a huge amount to lose on behalf of the state police with this very issue.
Of course.
And the
It's
timing
trust.
of it, that the contemporaneous nature of it as it aligns with the Karen Reed case and others is very notable. They need a win. They don't. I'm sure when Enrique, and I mean this with all due respect to him, his loss, his family's loss, when he passed away during this boxing exercise, it was like the worst thing that could have possibly happened to the MSP. I'm sure
But
everybody
it's
panicked.
under their negligence, Nan, that they're not, and I'm sorry to cut you off, that
No.
they're not monitoring this program correctly. And when
Right.
you're not doing it correctly, and I don't want to say accidents, things like this fucking happen. And I don't want to see another recruit go into a facility that possibly, and from all the reports that I've talked to, friends and family, Enrique was a really great guy and wanted to come in and change hearts and minds and do his job. That's what I learned about him. And I don't want someone like this to be put into a situation like this again and this to happen to them, because from what
agree.
I understand, he was going to be one of the good people that got into this profession.
I agree, and I really admire that you care so much about future applicants. And we all can agree, at least many of us can agree, that they need an overhaul of many, not all, but many officers, Massachusetts State Police troopers, because there's been some morally questionable officers that I've learned of in the recent years. But in civil litigation, by the way, we have a measure that's called punitive or treble damages. It's like the same thing. Those can be added to a complaint, which is above like a verdict. If you as a jury want to send a message to the defense, like to the defendant, if they're found liable, you then, if you get a jury to agree, can assess punitive damages against them to teach them a lesson. And sometimes it's a good idea to plead for punitive damages because those are A, not covered by insurance. It has to come right out of the defense pocket. And B, it's designed to get the behavior that caused the problem to stop. I look at this matter as one grounded at a minimum in civil negligence because there was a failure to properly oversee and monitor this program and the safety of the cadets. With that said, if I were suing the Massachusetts State Police, I would throw in what we call a prayer for punitive damages to send that message to the Massachusetts State Police that this has to stop. And that is why spending $500,000 on an investigation that's gone on for 1 year tomorrow, which is blowing my mind.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That's money that could have better been spent putting punitive damages in the pockets of the Garcia family.
Yeah, or bettering the program, cleaning things up in that academy, just anything, anything at that point. Let's do this one quick last one. I know it's late and I want to thank Nan for being here. This was really great. Just hanging out like two friends or sitting around shooting the shit. And obviously talking about some really serious subject matters tonight, but it's been really refreshing to do this. Real quick, there's been a report, Nan, that Officer Veruca Salt, who has testified in the Karen Reed trial, has resigned. On today, September 12, 2025, a personal order was released stating the resignation of police officer Kelly Dever, ID number 173471, assigned to BAT leave of absence section org number 36135 after being present is hereby effective of September 1st, 2025. Your thoughts on that, Nan, before we go off the air?
First is a question. Was that a false report previously? A few weeks back where people were reporting that she resigned, or word on the street was she resigned. Okay, so let's assume that was false at the time, or fake news, I think everyone calls it. If this is indeed true, and I saw someone also put it in your chat, I mean, Well, you did the right thing, Deaver. Look what you did. You stood up for the wrong side, or Dever, whatever her name is. She
Mhm.
stood up for the wrong side instead of putting her own integrity and honesty first and doing what should have been done, which was to throw Berkowitz and Higgins under the bus. So
Yeah.
she chose her battle lines. She ended up getting jilted by Cox, the commissioner of the Boston PD, who not only
I don't even
denied.
know Kelly. I don't
Yeah,
even know Kelly
I
Deaver.
love
I don't
your
even know.
impersonation.
I don't know her.
I
Yeah,
don't know her, and I
I don't
haven't
know
said
her.
the word. I've never uttered the word Karen
Yeah, out of the
Lee.
words.
Okay,
Yeah. Okay.
so
Yeah. Okay.
yeah, well, if she did resign, usually it's a negotiated departure. So
Yeah.
for anyone out there who's thinking, "Oh my God, she's gonna flip and she's gonna speak," could it happen? Sure. I don't think it will. If I were an attorney involved, I would think that she negotiated with her attorney a departure from her position. It probably involved payment of a severance to her, which was sizable,
Yep.
and confidentiality terms, non-disclosure agreement. She'll probably end up going to like work in a diner somewhere far, far away from the Canton area. If I heard correctly, that was where she was at least originally from.
Yeah.
But oh, too bad, so sad.
Oh well, you shouldn't lie. You should have done the right thing, but
As I
it
say,
is.
what did I say earlier? Don't let the door hit you where the good Lord split you.
Exactly. Exactly. Look, I want to thank my guest this evening and friend, attorney Nan Gallagher. It
My
was really
pleasure.
great to have this awesome, just like laid back conversation, obviously on some very serious things that are going on in our country right now. I want to thank the chat for being really respectful tonight and respecting both sides, because I wanted to make sure that this was a episode about free speech and not being, and not silencing free speech. I like being here and being able to do what I want on this channel, and being able to talk about the things that I talk about on this channel. And I love the fact that we have people that want to come hear us, what we have to say, and they may agree and they may not agree. And that's what we need to do more of in this country, is have more civil conversations than approaching these subject matters with violence. I don't want to see anybody ever have to go through this type of situation ever again. Whether you're on the left, the right, in the middle, whatever you fucking are, you should have the right to say, regardless of all like the Nazi and racist bullshit. I don't want to hear that. But you should have the right to say what you say. Believe me, there's been a lot of stuff that's, that gets spit on the internet every day. People have the right to say that. People have, you can agree with it, you don't have to agree with it, but we have to do better as Americans. This is not the way that we shape the fabric and the landscape of our country, especially in the political realm. I don't want to see politicians attempted to be assassinated or assassinated. It's not the way we handle it. We handle it with the pen. We handle it with our mouths. And that's kind of my final thought on this. Nan, if you have any final thoughts.
My final thought was, I had such a great time, Brian. I love this. I mean, I always consider you a friend, but I really like this format. It's very relaxed, just two people having a great conversation about some heavy topics and some topics that give me great joy, like, in my opinion, Brian Walshe getting stabbed and Deaver quitting. But with that, I'm a masochist when it comes to stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I know I saw some people in your chat saying, "Wow, this was a very sad topic." That's what it's all about. Like,
Yeah.
everything's not puppies and rainbows, and I love being able to have conversations with you. Anytime
Yeah.
you want me back, I'm here.
Yeah. And I just want to say this. I mean, the last couple of weeks has been very kind of turmoil for me. I'm dealing with some health stuff right now and hopefully getting to some answers on that on Wednesday. I know I've been talking about it a lot. I just want everybody to know, what's personally going on with me. As far as everything, over the last 2 years, things came at me really fast. And, I amassed a very large crowd, a lot of eyes that came on me. There was certain sense of pressure that was on top of me. to do a lot of things at once. And I think I got a little scatterbrained at some points, and it can happen. I mean, this is the first time I've ever really been put into a situation like this, to have such a large platform, you know, and do all these shows back to back, and you're stressed about, putting shows together and supporting Karen, whatever other causes you're doing. And I think I was doing way too many things at once, and just some shit got to me. And, things came out, and, I kind of look at it as it is what it is at this point. The damage has been done. I'm past it. I'm ready to move on. I'm ready. I'm ready to continue on the LTL platform, and we're gonna still open up and have these types of conversations. And that's it. If you want to be here and subscribe, I appreciate that. If you don't, then that's your freedom of choice, and that's your freedom of speech. You don't have to subscribe, but I appreciate the people that have been here. I've had a ton of support behind the scenes. It's just kind of slowing things down, because I ran so hard for 2 years, Nan, and now it's time to slow down and kind of pull this person back, the offline person back together.
Brian, you're taking stock. You're taking stock. That's actually a really healthy thing to do. Sometimes you do it by choice. Sometimes you do it because life chooses to do it for you. But I admire all that you're doing right now. It's very natural. Take a beat. You're going to be okay.
It was just too fast. I was going too fast, and just my fucking head got way too crazy. And it was like, all right, I need to take a step back here and dial it back in, and that's it. But everybody should have a right to be on these platforms. I still support the entire group. I want everybody to flourish and thrive. And right now there's probably getting to a conclusion of an end, a pretty fucking amazing show at the Wilbur, and I'll be excited to see some of those videos and see what happens. But with that being said, Nan, thank you so much again. Thank you everybody here on the stream, and I hope you'll all come back and join us for some deeper conversations in the future. We'll keep an eye on this subject matter, of course, and continue to talk about these things. So if you haven't subbed up, please make sure to subscribe. Again, this is attorney Nan Gallagher. You can see her on many of the shows across the internet. You can also find her on X. You can find her on Facebook, and probably on a show tomorrow night. Or I know you do a lot of shows, which is great. So
I'm just being a normal mom. It's gonna pull a Jen McCabe tomorrow. But thanks for having me, guys. And I hope everyone does like this video and subscribe. I'm a big fan of Brian's. I'm so glad that he's still here, because I love him so much. You're the best, Brian. And I hope everyone has a great night.
Thank you. All right, we're going to head out of here. We'll get out of here, and we'll see you guys soon. Talk to everybody soon. Say some prayers tonight, and hug your loved ones. Please do that. All right, everybody. Take care.
Good night.